We were all still friends in the playground. Of course, the children who went to the same class were a bit more familiar with each other, but as we were such a small community, everyone actually talked and played with everyone else. The only difference for us was the school system. There were those who were good at school and those who were not. There were the well-behaved children and the rascals. And if you had to answer a question in front of the whole class and didn't know the answer or even got it wrong, you were teased a bit on the playground, but it was all very harmless. I had my two best friends Saskia and Julia. I spent a lot of time with them and I don't know if it was the same for you, but we played horses with great passion. We would gallop around the playground and had great fun pretending to be horses. There were also times when we played games in larger groups, hide and seek, catching each other. It was never boring. A bus service hired especially for the elementary school picked us up early in the morning and took us home after school. After school, I always tried to finish my homework quickly so that I could go out and play. We had so much free time during this period. Getting up in the morning wasn't difficult. When we were at school, we also had really great teachers. One of the teachers was a bit esoteric and a very open, worldly man. I really liked that and I always found it exciting to talk to him. He was always understanding, even when I got frustrated from time to time. He was my favorite teacher. As I had already learned to read, write and do mathematics at home as a child, elementary school wasn't difficult for me. I had a really nice and stress-free time. I didn't have many bad experiences that left their mark on me. When I think back, I only remember funny moments such as when I was allowed to wear a little skirt to school. I went to the toilet and came back to class and all the children were laughing. I just didn't understand what was so funny. Then Saskia came up to me and simply said with a grin on her face, "Your skirt is still hanging in your tights at the back." I was horrified. To this day, when I put on a skirt and go to the toilet, I tug at the whole skirt to make sure it fits properly. I remember we had the first couple at school. It was so harmless. They just held hands during the break while the rest of us whispered to each other, "See that? They're holding hands." Those were the most exciting moments in elementary school. As a negative experience, I have to say there is one that still bothers me every now when I think about it. I was in religion class and the story of Jesus and Mary Magdalene was told. I was already at the age when I knew that Santa Claus didn't exist and that adults sometimes make up stories or twist the facts. When this story was told, I realized that it was not entirely true. Mary Magdalene was a modern woman in her time. She had not committed herself to one man and wanted to spend her whole life with him. She kept several options open and enjoyed life. She embraced her sexuality and lived it out accordingly. When the teacher told us how she had washed Jesus' feet with her hair, I took the liberty of saying that she was not a saintly woman and that this gesture was most probably a sexual act. There is more to this story than is being told. The religion teacher didn't find this very funny. She stood up and came towards me in a rage. As she stood over me like that, she started shouting at me. She said really hurtful things to me. She said I was a stupid little girl who looked down on everyone and everything. I'll never amount to anything in life because I'll probably have STDs and life will destroy me. Looking back, I am very glad that I have a strong family who taught me the values of not putting up with everything. I'm also glad that I was allowed to watch TV from an early age, even shows that weren't age appropriate. After all, it gave me the drama along the way and also helped me to put myself in the right scene. When this happened, I stood up and looked deep into her eyes. I don't have to put up with something like that. Certainly not from someone so much older than me. And I stormed out of the classroom. My heart was pounding and I didn't know where to go, but I knew I had to get out of there. But there he was, my favorite teacher, who was about to run to his classroom. "So, did you get kicked out of class?" he asked with a little smile on his face. "No, I left voluntarily," I said, shaking my head. All of a sudden, the door behind me opened and I turned around, thinking the bully was coming back, but no, it was my Julia. She thought the teacher's attitude sucked and out of solitude threw down her book and asked, "Where are we?" "I'm getting the fuck out." That was the first time I had experienced true friendship, and my love for Julia was indestructible from that moment on. She was a person who would go to war for her people. My Julia. The class teacher just laughed. We were allowed to join him in the classroom and do something for ourselves. Julia and I sat down on a small sofa in the corner and giggled because we found the whole thing so funny. I was never someone who snitched or talked about my day at home, so I didn't tell my parents this story either. At some point, I don't know if it was weeks or months later. As a child, you don't have a good sense of time, but I got a letter sent home. It was handwritten and 2 or 3 pages long. The letter was from the religion teacher. To be honest, I didn't hesitate for a moment and threw it into the fire in the burning stove. It burned without me ever having read it. I can well imagine what it said. She had gone into herself and she apologized for wanting to ruin a 10-year-old child, blah blah blah. I didn't care because I knew then, as I know now, that the incident was wrong. Children have no filters and may not always say the right thing. They hurt you in the process of self-discovery and character building. I find adults who act out on children and try to break them inexcusable. After school or at the weekend, my sister and I would occasionally invite schoolmates over to our house. These were children who weren't necessarily in the same class, but with whom we got on well. And as it happens in childhood, the invited children invited other children. In the end, we were always a big group. Back then, we were one of the few who had a video recorder, if you even know what that is. Even if you can't imagine it today, our parents had a membership card with a video cassette rental company and rented the latest films for us. So they brought the movies home to us. I'm sure they were also happy that we were at home and that they could keep an eye on everything. My mother made us popcorn and always served us little snacks, which we always fought over. After the movie, we'd go out and play. We made huts in the forest or had fights with our swords made from sticks. There was one boy who was very popular and he was so cute. I definitely thought he was cute. At some point when we were playing outside and it was getting dark, he came up to me and asked if we could talk quickly. I couldn't believe it. My secret dreams were coming true. My heart was pounding and all I could think was, what's going to happen now? Is it really happening now, and will this be my first kiss? He came to me to ask me about my sister because he thought she was really great. I know how disappointed I was, but despite that I was happy for my sister and gave him the best answers and praised her to the skies. When all the children had left, I went to my sister all excited and said, "Did you know Stefan likes you?" She just rolled her eyes and said, "What, that loser? I don't want him and I don't need all that either." I was shocked. I was shocked, happy and disappointed at the same time. Stefan and I never became a thing. But that didn't stop us from inviting the same kids to our house again and again. We had a really cool time back then,